Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
Hello, everybody. America's older brother, the world's only professional asshole, Aaron Clary. You can find me at assholeconsulting.com. If you have ever been triggered or you have been to a safe space, do not send me your questions because you have no interest in improving your life. But if you do have an interest in truth and are willing to take scathing criticism as long as it's constructive, go to assholeconsulting.com. Send me your questions. I will give you the answers and you will give me money in return. Hey asshole, I am a student who has bought your book, Reconnaissance Man. The information provided in the book has been useful, but it is starting to seem like the question of where to live is considerably harder than I thought it would be. You said a few times that the U.S. happens to suck less than other countries when it comes to economy, competence, and corruption. I don't think that this trend will continue because if the U.S. is going to become a truly multicultural country similar to Brazil, is going to have many of the problems that Brazil has. It will mean organized crime and higher levels of violence. Well, not to mention lower economic growth, high debt. Oh, wait, we already have that. States in the U.S. that have low taxes and fair laws now may change with the demographics. For example, California was a red state until the effects of Ronald Reagan passing amnesty sunk in. States like Texas are now experiencing a similar demographic change. I don't know if it's worth investing in the future of a state or even the country as a whole if I don't know what the future holds. I'm just seeing too many extreme red flags for the prospects of staying in the U.S. long term. You're absolutely right. Is there any real benefit for a white computer science guy like me staying a U.S. citizen that I just won't get anywhere else? Might a degree in computer science be a way for me to get a visa for certain countries with a high skill immigration requirement? Yeah, it will help. I know, like when I looked at applying for citizenship in Australia, they have a point system, and not only there, but I think New Zealand, other places in general, will award you more points in your application. So you definitely would want to, yes, it is going to help. It's certainly more than, I'm an English teacher. I can teach English. Never understood. I'm teaching English overseas. Like, oh, I'm going to Korea to teach English. I'm like, but you don't speak Korean. How the fuck are you teaching these people? Well, they already speak English. Well, then why the fuck are you going there? I mean, are you like, is this like finishing school? Like you polish off, well, then wouldn't all the British people go and do these English teaching? No, they grab some 23-year-old schmuck. I'm teaching English in Korea. I'm like, but you're not the polished British David Neville. Yes, hello. Yeah, and the do ding diggly dinglies, yes. Oh, yes, heavens no. We don't fucking speak English that good in this country. Anyway. My degree. I honestly have no idea what to do because the country I live in has gone so far off the deep end that by simply staying here, I may be inviting covetous leftists to attack me. Inviting? There are. Dude, have you not heard about white privilege and male privilege? Have you not seen the progressive tax rates we have? Inviting? They already are, dude. You're villain number one. Heaven help you if you happen to be straight and a Christian on top of being white and male. So yeah, no, I mean, I was looking at this stuff back in the 90s. I even had a file this big of all the tax havens and everything. But the funny thing with tax havens is you need money to shelter in the tax havens, and I don't have money. So it was like, yeah, a lot of these places, like, how much to live there? Oh, fuck it, you know. Most all of Western civilizations are great to live in as long as you don't make a lot of money. Like, if you're a poor, lazy fuck, it's great to live and live off of the schmucks that pay the taxes here. Worse, it's like the country would be so divided that an organized violent conflict will break out. I know many countries in Europe are in a similar boat with their immigration issues, but America is even more divided. No, I wouldn't say we're more divided. We're about as divided. What are your recommendations for countries to try living in? Which ones are hard to get a visa or citizenship? What areas of the world might be safe from sudden violence in the near future? Maybe New Zealand. Okay, like, I'm not going to go through all 176 countries because that costs a lot, and I don't know all the visa requirements for all of them. But what I am going to do is I pulled up a map of the world. And I am going to pull from my vast experience, because I have studied this before, and I'm just going to give you kind of like the best ones or ones to consider or some ideas. Now, going into, let's understand this clearly. There is no perfect country. Every country is going to have a drawback or a flaw. Like, I thought I'd love Italy. I cannot stand the fucking roads. Like, it's shit that until you go there, you don't know what's going to drive you absolutely fucking bonkers and what you're going to absolutely love. Like, Mexico, ironically, I like the open fucking nothingness. I like the desert. The risk of getting kidnapped for ransom is kind of a drawback. But I would have never thought, wow, I kind of actually like Mexico a lot. Italy, I thought, I love the architecture. And then you get up and you get a real close look at the architecture. It's all crumbling. It's all moldy and shit. They don't keep it up. So, you don't know. And the classic example I like to give is you can find the perfect place. All of a sudden, there's a tree that shits out pollen, and you're deathly allergic to it, and you can never set foot in this paradise ever again. So, you have to visit these places because countries are as varied as human individuals and your personality. And so you're just gonna have to go and do a lot of traveling. So this becomes somewhat cost prohibitive to many people, especially if you're younger, because the United States, I mean, again, you don't realize how good we have it here until you go somewhere else. You go fucking rent a car, you go get your car, and you fucking go. Italy, traffic, this, that, roads are like this. They don't go anywhere logical because all the roads were made diagonally. We want to go that way, said Caesar. Let's go. It's like, well, maybe we should put an organized grid system like the American West. Fuck it. Ooh, America? So, what I'm going to do is, these are the 6 qualities and traits that you would like to have in a country. So I'm going to give you kind of the formula and you can figure it out for you, but I am going to go through some other countries. But like I said, you're not going to have all 6 of these. It's just going to be impossible. All right. 1, temperature and climate. Perfect example, the Scandinavian countries. They'll pay for all your fucking shit. The Swedes will even give you their women for free and you can have sex with them. All right? They might throw you in jail a little bit. You can murder people on an island that you don't like and you'll get free food, clothing, shelter, housing, and everything from the Norwegian taxpayers, and they'll let you go free after 20 years. I know, it's crazy. All right? So if you're a lazy fuck, Scandinavia is a great place to go. It's cold as fuck there. There's no fucking sun half the year. It gets fucking depressing. And taxes are fucking insane. Except for Norway, where they have all the oil in the world and everyone there is a millionaire. Look it up. Alright? Taxes. Alright? You don't want to go to Cuba. You don't want to go to Venezuela. You certainly don't want to set up a corporation in the United States. You don't want to set up a corporation in Japan. So you got to look at taxes. Like Thailand, everyone likes Thailand, but they have almost the exact same tax rates that we do here in the United States. And you can't own property there. Freedom! We have a lot of freedom here in the United States. I know it doesn't feel that way, but you do have a lot of freedom. Go right up to Canada. And if you're an American, you'll start to notice. Like, I think it was like a felony. Like, I would do jail time. I was riding without my helmet in Canada. And this guy's flagging me down. And I'm like, what? And he's like, dude, you got to wear a helmet. I'm like, what are you talking about? They'll arrest you. They'll throw you in jail. I'm like, what? For not wearing a helmet? He's like, yeah. And Canada's anti-free speech. Like, if you say things, in the United Kingdom now, you say something against a Muslim or a protected group, you get punished. So you got to consider freedoms as well. China, you don't have freedom as much as you do the United States. So there's things to consider that. Residency and citizenship. Sometimes it's incredibly hard to get residency and citizenship. Like I said, when I applied for Australian citizenship residency, I'm like, fuck off. You're not a doctor. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you very much. Malta, Monaco, Liechtenstein, great countries to be a citizen of. Great countries. Even Andorra, Switzerland, I'd say, is up there too. I think Malta, a visa or a passport, I think it's like $1 million. Then there's some other places, like say temperature and climate, where it's very cheap. If you buy just some property in St. Kitts, hey, here's your citizenship. You get to live on St. Kitts. All right, now a lot of that is just, that's where I'm resident of. So you can be a resident in one place, but then go fucking globetrot around the world for all you care. So the Caribbean islands do offer some things like where it's like, yeah, I'm a resident here. I have my taxes and this is my tax base. I renounce my U.S. citizenship. And then you just go and travel around. So that's something to consider. But once again, you're on a fucking island. And I don't know if you've been to Caribbean islands. They get really boring after the first day, especially if you're a guy like me. Because, like, I'm used to Utah and Colorado and Montana and just... Corruption. For example, Russia. Still think Russia's got long-term potential. Unfortunately, they are highly corrupt. China's been going the right way ever since Deng Xiaoping took over, but they are highly corrupt. A lot of the Asian countries, like graft, bribery, is a tax-deductible expense because it's so common, it's socially accepted. Africa. I'm very curious about Africa, and for other reasons like Ebola and disease and genocide and racism and fuck all. I don't want to go to Africa. But they horrendously corrupt, and they may have all the natural resources in the world, but corruption will, okay, you have all these freedoms on paper. Oh, you got to bribe the cop in Mexico to fucking go to the next town. I mean, it's like, fucking hell. So that right there would take something. Russia, hey, I set up this shop. Oh, now here comes Putin's goons, and they have a protection racket. You need their insurance. So that can ruin an otherwise really promising country. And then monoculture or demographics. And I say monoculture because I know you're concerned about white and racism against white people in the United States and across the planet. It's not so much that you're looking for a place for white people to go. New Zealand, certainly that'd be the case. To a lesser extent, Australia, Iceland, the Nordic countries except Sweden for now. There's a couple places, but that's not really what you're going for. What you want is you want monoculture. And the reason you want monoculture, homogenous culture, is because that means it's stable. And it's a known element. Like, there is no doubt when you go to Japan, you're going to fucking abide by Japanese culture. Because there ain't nobody but Japanese people around. China, same thing. You're going to China. You will abide by Chinese culture. And at least we're okay with that. It's like, oh, this is China. We understand sovereignty except for our own country because we're pussies. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go to Japan. They have these cultures and things, and I'm going to do it that way. So you know that you will forever be a guest in Japan. You will never actually be Japanese. I think they have a term for it called gaijin or Cajun or something like that, where it's an American who works in Japan. But you're going to be discriminated against. The Japanese get preferential hiring treatment because they actually put their own citizens ahead of everybody else. As you should. So, but my point is not that Japan could even still be a better deal for a non-Japanese person because they're stable. There are a set of rules. There is a fixed culture there, and as long as you abide by the rules and the culture, you'll be all right. China, the same thing. I'm trying to think of another monoculture type of thing. You could Saudi Arabia. Arabs, all right? You may not like them. You may not like walking around with the headscarf, but you know what the rules are. So there's an element of stability that comes with it. And so what you have with a monoculture is you have stability, and you do not have racial tensions. You do not have affirmative action. You don't have all this fucking pointing fingers. You don't have privilege, all this petty. Think about the time and money and resources we waste with affirmative action and diversity and virtue signaling. And we're doing this, and you all have to take diversity class. You all have to take this. Oh, you have to do this. You have to do that. All this time, the billions of dollars wasted on all these worthless college classes. Everything. Think of all the time and effort and energy we piss away on. That's not wasted in these countries. Because it's like, no, we're fucking Japanese. Go fuck yourself. And they're like, cool. I will shut the fuck up and do whatever it is that I have to be there. So there's no racial tension. There's no one shooting people. They don't have fucking Black Lives Matter blocking arteries on highways in Kyoto, Japan. They don't have that. There's not people blocking train stations in China. Because they just fucking grab you and shoot you. They don't have that racial. So it's not that, I'm looking for a white place. Well, if you're looking for a white place, there's Greenland, Russia, Iceland, Finland and Norway, not Sweden so much, and then New Zealand. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Not really. So yeah, that's quote white, but you've noticed how white people hate themselves. Oh, I want to prove I'm diverse. Everybody come over here. Hey, it's Sweden. Rape our women. See how understanding and tolerant we are. So I don't even know if necessarily an all white country is necessarily that good. You know, it's an issue of it's a known element. It's a known quantity. You know, like, no, this is a, you go to Morocco, this is Moroccan culture. You go to Zimbabwe, well, okay, at least you know they don't like whites down there. It's definitely black. Okay, here we are. We know the rules. Although it's not that stable. But the whole point is you want to go where there's an established culture and it ain't going to fucking change for nobody. Because then you don't have race wars or genocide or stuff like that. Okay. So those are the things. Now let's go through the world map here. I still think the United States is good. The Caribbean islands, depending on where you go, if you can get into the tax havens like Bermuda, Cayman Islands, great. Those are, one is a British protectorate. I think, Bahamas is. Bermuda, I think, is standalone. But then there are also like St. Kitts. What was the other one? Nevis? There's different Caribbean countries that are offering citizenship because they're getting smart and saying, hey, buy some fucking housing here. We'll give you your citizenship and just bank here. And it's becoming an offshore tax haven kind of deal. That's something to consider, all right? It's certainly, but keep in mind, you're on a fucking island. Weather's nice, but you're on a fucking island. So you obviously travel around. So you have to have a travel budget. I've heard good things about Chile. They are, thank you for killing all the communists back in the 70s. Under Pinochet, they are the most successful South American country. Also Uruguay, Paraguay, there's been they're not as successful as Chile, but they're not as bad either. Panama, heard some good things about Panama. Belize, look at Belize, English-speaking country, corrupt. They don't like white people down there, I understand. But some saner heads are prevailing where it's like, hey, do you want white people money? Well, shut the fuck up and let's have these guys come on down there. Belize was a place I was looking at. But I think you got to live there for a year, become a citizen. I was even talking to the GF. I'm like, look, let me just go down there for a year. I think I can leave every 2 months. I'll come back. I'll write some epic book when I'm down there, and I'll be a Belizean citizen. So that's one place to consider. But again, your infrastructure ain't going to be that great. You think roads in Canada suck. Wait till you get to Belize. Iceland. Iceland is 100% white. You can drive around the island in 3 days. They got a volcano. There's some geysers and ice. You might see a whale. And they have a town called Reykjavik. And they punished their bankers. Aside from that, you're in Iceland. I don't know if you know the map I'm looking at right now. It's kind of remote. And there ain't a lot. You got to fly. We stopped in Reykjavik. And I think we flew to... Did we go all the way to Switzerland? Yeah. And it's just you look down, there's water. You look out, there's water. It's like, holy fuck. And you're like, hey, there's Britain. Yeah, that. Yeah, that. Oh, there it went away. And then there's Holland. And I don't know what their theme song is. And then there's Germany. And it's like, oh, look at all the Muslims. Okay. So, I'm just trying to look at our Western Hemisphere here. So, yeah, you don't want to do Argentina. Roosh has got a great book called The Dead Bet in Paraguay. And I would also consult Roosh, see if you can contact him personally, because he has lived in South America, and he has also done a lot of traveling in Europe. So he'd be able to speak more competently than I have, but I'm looking at it from an economic standpoint. All right, then you got your Scandinavian countries. Like I said before, if you can become a citizen of Norway, they have so much fucking money with their oil. Their citizens are literally each millionaires. They have their social security is really, really, really fucking kick-ass, but then they're always contemplating suicide because it comes from oil, and Norwegians are just so wonderful, perfect, leftist, touchy-feely people. They're there with their knives, do I kill myself because we're millionaires because of oil? That's what they think. Sweden, they hate themselves. Fuck Sweden. You don't want to go to Sweden. Unless you want to fuck their women, you don't want to go to Sweden. Finland, kind of the same thing. But again, it's cold. There's fucking snow. Taxes are high. Ireland. Ireland, low taxes. Not that bad. A place to consider. But, yeah, you know, you're going to have to go there. Then we have the Emirates, or not the Emirates, the kingdoms. Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Andorra, Monaco. Best way to get into those countries is to marry. Small, really rich, go fuck yourself type of things. There's former Eastern Soviet bloc countries, Poland, Bulgaria. You don't want to do Romania. Talked to Matt Forney about this. And then there's also the Baltics, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Estonia has done very well ever since post-Soviet collapse. They hate communism. So those are those little Baltics on the Baltic Sea. They're worth considering. What else? Let me pull up a map of Europe, because Europe just smudges into a bunch of little puny countries. Europe map. Okay. Norwegian, Finnish, Poland, Dutch. Those are all the ethnicities. Alright, not labeled for reuse. Europe map. Alright. And even with this zoomed in map, it's still very small. Okay. Switzerland is good if you could get into it. You don't want to go to Greece. Hey, there's a place called Iraq. You should check it out. Yeah, so there's the Baltics, Ireland. Okay, yeah, that's about it. Russia. Russia's an interesting one. I think if you're looking for, like, we're going to keep Western culture, fuck you, I don't care, Putin has done a pretty damn good job of it. The problem is, as I said, Russia is highly corrupt. Putin might want an insurance play on your little coffee shop you decide to run. But as long as Putin's in charge, I don't think, at least they have the balls to protect their culture. Again, monoculture. Is it worth living in one of the most corrupt countries ever? I know I've talked to some people who used to live in Russia. They are Russian. They say, no, I like the United States a lot better. But it kind of depends. Again, you're going to have to go visit it and figure it out for yourself. All right. Moving on. We are just going to skip the entire continent of Africa. I know that's racist. It is not. I just don't. And I'm sure there's these cowboy capitalists out there that are like, they just go and run their racket and they don't care as long as you pay off the local official. But I don't want disease and I don't want to get shot. Dubai, United Arab Emirates. That's something to consider. Again, a little bit of a culture shock, but it is somewhat westernized, and it is truly, from the clients I've had, it's truly a transient country/town as a city-state. And that might be a place for you to consider. It would be very expensive, I'd imagine, like Singapore to gain residency. Singapore is another one you might want to consider. But just, check out. If you got the money, go check it out. You're like, holy shit, look at this. They're not fucking around. Australia. The reason I like Australia because it's big and you got stuff to do. Modern day Western nation. Adam Piggott, though, I think a third or 30% of the population is now foreign born. He's a little worried about him being Asian. I'm like, dude, I could be wrong, but the Asians here in the United States are like doctors and engineers. They're like, yeah, come on over. We'll take the fucking doctors and engineers. Please do. But maybe it's slightly different. They also have their problems with the Aboriginal population, which is kind of like they're the natives to Australia before the Brits came over. And same welfare class problems. Oh, it's whitey, you oppressed us and we want repatriation. So you get to deal with that. So they have their own racial issues there. South Korea. That's interesting. There's North Korea right north of you. You got to learn a language. But a buddy of mine who's in the military says, imagine the 1950s America with 2057 technology. I'm like, shit, that sounds cool. There is again a monoculture. You will always be treated as a second-class citizen in South Korea. Also, their taxes are on par with the United States, all right? So don't think it's like some kind of tax haven. But Korea, South Korea, not North. Please make sure you go to South and not North Korea. That's something to consider. Then we get into Southeast Asia, and that's kind of interesting. Cambodia, I've been hearing some good things about through Nomad Capitalist, Andrew Hendrickson. You might want to look him up. I'll mention him later because I'd say he's vital. Thailand, a lot of people like Thailand, but you cannot buy property in Thailand, which is all right. I mean, if you can rent just for the rest of your life, and it sounds like a lot of Westerners like Thailand. I'm very curious. I think maybe next winter, once I recoup, I might go and do a Southeast Asia, Australia trip. Although now that Adam's not in Australia anymore, I don't know if I'm going to go. Kind of really, hey, free lodging. Let's see what's in Australia. Hey, I want to drive my motorcycle. Oh, you get bit by a snake. Holy fuck. God, the ignorance in America about Australia. Oh my God, a spider will bite you, you'll die. I'm like, well then how are they keep populating it? Why are there 25 million Australians? Wouldn't they all die? Anyway, so Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore would be the crown jewel of that area. Hong Kong, it's China now, but it's a very westernized nation, or part of China. But I don't know if you'd like, again, you got to visit it. The Philippines, that's kind of all right. There's some corruption there, but it's cheap, and they hate Americans, but they'll take our money. And then I'm just trying, because it all gets very close. Thailand, Cambodia. I'm still not doing Vietnam. Just sounds like it's populated as hell. Philippines, I have heard good things about. Okay, and then South Korea. I'm just looking around the rest of this map. Australia there. Okay, and then Easter Island there. Philippines. Am I missing anything? I think that's it. All right. So that's the world tour. Here's the final thing I would do. Well, okay, one thing you're going to have to visit these countries. And that itself, it's not just visit, but it's stay there for a while and not just hit the tourist traps. You're going to have to go and actually experience the country. And that's going to be an investment of time and money. So that takes a while. The other thing I'm going to strongly recommend you do is go to nomadcapitalist.com. This guy is ran by this guy called Andrew Hendrickson. This guy is the foremost authority on young people. He's a young guy. He's still in his 20s. Smart kid, brilliant kid. And he has gone and traveled around and looked at the banking systems and the lodging and the living arrangements and the residency. That is probably going to be my next step one of these days when I get off my ass and I have to start thinking about, okay, New Zealand. We skipped New Zealand altogether. Sorry. New Zealand is probably where I'm going to end up going and buying some property. In part because it speaks English. Yet they speak English. It's still predominantly a white culture, monoculture. That really doesn't have much to do with. I was curious about Japan. I wouldn't mind checking out Japan. I just don't want to learn that fucking language. That's really what it boils down to. I'd almost prefer Japan over New Zealand. But hey, they speak English down in New Zealand. There's mountains, and I think your demographics will hold for a while. More socialist than the United States, though taxes are higher. But at least they're not going to confiscate my property. Property rights will be protected for a while. Anyway, so nomadcapitalist.com, Andrew Hendrickson. Read it. He's got a couple books out. Read them. He's got his website. Go through that. He's done a couple podcasts and YouTube videos. So that is the guy, the authority. And I would contact him and consult him. Pay him. Because, look, you can read through all of his shit and it's going to take a while. Or just pay him the $100 or whatever for him to say, okay, what are the countries you would recommend in Southeast Asia in that area? And that's going to save you your time right there. So if you're willing to spend the money, I would spend it on Andrew Hendrickson. Tell him I sent you. Tell him Captain sent you. Because we have a good rapport with one another. I got to contact him. That's kind of the thing, is I'm busy writing books and he's busy going and exploring. And but I've hung out with him. He's a cool kid. And you just don't have the time. It's like, no, I'm too busy doing my shit. You're too busy. It's like, damn it. I missed him. He was in town. So anyway, I hope that helps out. Gives you kind of a bird's eye view. like I said, it's going to require you go and visit a lot of, and this could take a fucking decade. But yeah, you being in computer science, be able to work remotely, doing some software, I would definitely be doing that. That's definitely going to help you. But it is good. You're going to spend more time on figuring out where to live than you are your degree. I'm being deadly serious, and it's going to be worth it too. I fortunately have worked in banking where we're never busy, so I could just research. That looks nice. So I have a very general idea, more than general, pretty good idea of where you do and do not want to go. But on that score of countries I listed, you're going to want to whittle it down and check them out and visit them yourself. So, anyway, best of luck to you. If you do go out, I would love to hear a report. I absolutely would. Contact me and say, hey, I got to write something. I'd be happy to have it on the blog. It'd be helpful to all the other readers here. So, all right, we'll talk to you guys later.